So the things that make us attract love are very simple. Know that you're worthy of and deserving of it. Not only will you find love, it will find you. So people say, I hope I meet someone I hope I'm good enough for them. No. Hope they're good enough for you. And I can tell you without skipping a beat that the clients I work with, the unhappiest are the ones who pretend to be perfect. They are the unhappiest, but they're also the loneliest, because we don't want someone perfect. If I'm with someone perfect, then I feel a bit flawed. But if I'm with someone flawed like me, we can have a wonderful flawed relationship together and just laugh. And a great relationship requires best friend chemistry and sexual chemistry. And a lot of us get very into the sexual chemistry. It's amazing. It blinds us to someone's faults. And sexual chemistry can be fantastic. But you must have best friend chemistry as well. And many people say the sex is wild and it's amazing. I don't even actually really like this person, but the sex is so good, I don't even care. Other people say, well, we're best friends. But the sex isn't great, but we're just like, we get on so well. But you must have both. If you want love, there's only one thing you have to do, and it's this. You got to say, I.
With every step you take to.
So I want to start by talking about a realization I had some years ago. I realized that I wasn't so good at appreciating the people who loved me. And, like most people, I spent so much time chasing that love, but at the same time, not appreciating the people who already love me. And I realized that what's the point of, even if I do achieve that, even if I do get that love that I'm chasing, it's not going to matter because I still suck at appreciating it, right? And I feel like a lot of people listening to this are going through the same thing where they're chasing so hard for love, but at the same time, there are people that already love them that they're not appreciating fully enough. So why is it that this is something we struggle with, appreciating the people who already love us?
I think when you feel unlovable, and many people feel unlovable, even if people love you, you think, well, they love me because they're my mom or my dad, they have to. They love me because it's my sister or brother. They love me because I'm attractive or I'm successful, but they don't really love me. So I think about 80% of us probably doubt our lovability. We know that because we're always buying stuff like makeup and clothes and cosmetic procedures and products to make us feel more lovable. Whereas if we knew we were lovable, we'd say, well, I don't really need that stuff. So when you don't believe you're lovable, you're like an empty cup and someone else is trying to fill you up, but the emptiness inside is coming from you. And people can't make you feel lovable unless you already believe you're lovable yourself. And that's something you can work on every day until you do feel lovable.
So how do we work on that? What's some stuff that we can do to feel more lovable?
Well, let's imagine you don't feel lovable. And now you have a choice. Okay, I'm going to find someone. I'm going to give them the job. I'm going to find someone. Go, your job is to make me feel lovable. I'm going to say to you every day, do you love me? Am I okay? Am I good enough, smart enough, worthy enough? But it's not someone else's job, it's your job. And it's a good job it's your job because you can do it. And so how do you do that? You start by saying every day, I'm lovable, I'm worthy of love, I'm deserving of love. And you don't say, well, I don't believe that. In fact, when I say it, Marisa, I even feel angry or sad, or I think it's silly. But if you feel angry or sad or silly when you start to say, I'm lovable, I'm worthy of love, then you've just proved to yourself that you don't believe it. And here's the thing, keep doing it till you do. The mind likes what is familiar and it loves repetition. So keep saying, I'm worthy of love, I'm deserving of love. And eventually, and often very quickly, you'll start to realize, yeah, I am worthy of love. I do deserve love. We're all born believing we're worthy of love, which is why we demand attention. And where does that go? It doesn't really matter where it goes. What matters is you were born with it, and you can reactivate and reclaim what is, after all, your birthright.
I feel like most people, they tend to be attracted to or chase the love of people that don't really feel the same way back, but at the same time pushing away the people that already love them. Why is that something that we do? Why are we attracted to people that might not be that interested in us?
So here's one of the things about the mind that all therapists find vexing. The human brain wants what it knows. It wants what is familiar. So imagine if you lived in a tribe 1,000 years ago. You would stay with a tribe. You wouldn't go off and meet another tribe or wander off on your own, because unfamiliar could kill you. You ate what you knew. So 2-year-olds won't eat something new because their brain says, I only want what I know because that will keep me alive. So it wasn't that long ago that familiar kept you safe and indeed kept you alive. And our brain, we think we're so modern, but we have a very primitive brain, and it likes what it knows. So imagine you have a very cold, critical parent. Guess what? You find a very cold, critical person deeply attractive because you know it. The brain goes, oh, I feel so comfortable. I feel like I've known this person my entire life, because you're saying it's familiar. If you have an absent parent, especially an absent father, the attraction to someone who's not available is powerful for 2 reasons. One is, I know this, I recognize, I'm even comfortable with it. But the other is, if I could make someone unavailable available, if I could make this cold, distant person warm and loving, if I could make this critical person super complimentary, then what I've done is I've recreated my childhood, but I put a happy ending on it. So that's why we do it. It's a primal, primitive, ancestral behavior. Let's go for what's familiar, but also let's find what's familiar and change the ending. You don't want to change the ending, you want to change the beginning. If you're attracted to unavailable people, don't find someone unavailable and work to make them available. Find someone available first and decide, hey, I'm going to make this familiar. For me, I was a head teacher, you'd call it principal's daughter. So my father, by nature, was very interested in other people's children. He was, after all, paid to be interested in other people's children, but he wasn't really interested in us. And I was very aware of that. All his energy, his time, his passion was for other people's kids. So it wasn't that surprising that when I was an adult or a young woman, I seemed to find men that were unavailable and try to make them available. But when I realized what was happening, and actually my first boyfriend wasn't either, he was very available to me, but I sort of set about ruining that, and the second one too, because being loved like that was so unfamiliar to me that I ended both of those. But once I could see what I'd done, I could think, oh, right, this is just familiar. The mind likes what is familiar, but I can make something better familiar, being loved, being cherished, and now have a wonderful marriage with someone who always puts me first. Because I've been married to him for so long, it now feels absolutely familiar. But we've got to make a choice. Am I acting out an old pattern? What do I really want? And how can I get it? Because your job is to find the pattern, understand the pattern, change the pattern. It's very important to do the end bit, change the pattern. Finding and understanding it is not enough if you don't change it too.
I feel like a time where people can feel most unlovable is after rejection. And so how do we continue to put ourselves out there over and over again if we just keep on getting rejected? How do we continue to take those chances and still date and still talk to other people when we just fear that rejection so much? Yeah.
Well, a couple of things. First of all, again, find the pattern, understand the pattern, change the pattern. If you pick people who are always married or are really not available, they're very busy in their career or they're overseas, look at your pattern. Why are you constantly finding the same kind of person who doesn't want to commit? And maybe it's because you have a belief that love must be earned, must be worked very hard for, must be run after, must be bought and paid for. So the first thing is, again, look at that pattern and think, you know what, I need to be with a different person. This is a pattern that's not working. I've met many women who say, I only like married men. I can go wild and crazy with them. Or I like people in jail. I write to them. They're never going to I know where they are. But that's not really what you deserve. You deserve something more. So I'm a great believer that understanding is power. But the second thing is, if someone has loved you, if for a few months or a few years, and they leave, and you feel rejected, they're not taking with them everything they loved. As they pack their stuff, they're not packing every lovely thing they said to you every time they rang your voicemail just to hear your voice. And the third thing is to understand that we believe we're very fragile people who are damaged beyond repair by rejection. And that simply isn't true. It can actually make you stronger. It may say, I learned something from that. Catherine Zeta-Jones was rejected by 2 fiancés who both called off the wedding, and she came to America broken-hearted, married Michael Douglas, became Hollywood royalty. I'm sure now she looks back and thinks, wow, so thrilled those 2 first guys rejected me. They did me a favor. So, it wasn't that long ago that we would die from rejection, being banished, being cast out in Romeo and Juliet. He was banished, and he said, I'd rather be killed, frankly. There's nothing outside the city walls but purgatory. So we have a wiring that says, if you reject me, it will kill me. It's why we're so scared of public speaking, because we're really scared of being rejected as we do public speaking. And the answer is to say, you know what, the only person you can really, really, really reject me is me, and I'll never do that. That person doesn't love me, but that doesn't mean I'm not lovable. That person doesn't want me. It doesn't mean I'm not wantable. It's their issues. People fall out of love for all kinds of reasons. People can't commit. Angelina Jolie's second husband, I think Billy Bob Thornton, she was too good for me. She was so beautiful. I didn't deserve her. So when he left her, did he leave her because she wasn't enough? In his case, he thought he was unworthy of someone so beautiful. And that happens sometimes. So someone's rejected you. They haven't. They've left you. The relationship's ended. You have to decide what that means. I'm still lovable. It isn't that they didn't want what I wanted. I want to live in the country with 3 kids, and they don't. I want to live in the city with no kids, and they don't. We're just sometimes not on the right page. But just because a relationship has not worked, that doesn't mean you're not lovable and amazing and wonderful. And actually, people who've never had a relationship find it much harder to find love than someone who gets dumped, gets dropped, has a breakup, gets a divorce. They tend to find someone else. Because if you have that template in you for sharing, sharing a life, sharing a home, then you'll recreate that quite quickly if you want to.
Yeah, I feel like in the heat of the moment of rejection, because we're in that emotional state, we can kind of create stories about the situation that aren't even true. And we can almost convince ourselves that they rejected us for a certain reason, but the reality could be completely different. But when you're in that emotional state, it's hard to see that, right?
Yeah, I always love this story. My client told me that every year her husband gave her the same Christmas card. He never bought her a new one. And after about 8 years, she was so angry that she had a complete meltdown and said, that's it. You're so cheap and you can't even buy me a new card and this is ridiculous and you don't love me. And he said, oh, no, I love you as much as in our first Christmas. I give you the same card every year because nothing's changed. I love you more. I save it and give it back to you to show you I love you more. So I thought that was so interesting that she had a belief and he had a belief and they were he's rejecting me. He's so mean, he can't even buy me a new card. And his was, oh no, I want to give you the same card every year to show you that nothing's changed in my feelings. I mean, everything I wrote in that first card about our life together is the same. So we have to remember to look at the other person's perspective. I had a client who loved this guy and he'd come here on kinder transport as a young kid. He never saw his parents again. And for him, being loved made him so vulnerable. He wouldn't let, and when she said, I love you, he said, never say that to me. Never tell me you love me. It makes me feel vulnerable. She was lucky he could actually explain it. So you've got to look at the other person. If you want a great relationship, find someone who's evolved. Look at, their relationship with their family. If you meet someone who's very damaged and comes from a broken home and has had a succession of damaging relationships, then why would you think that could work? Maybe you should be more selective about saying, I want someone who's evolved, someone who's sorted. When I lived in LA, my roommate used to go to AA meetings in Hollywood. It's full of great guys, but they were all alcoholics. I'm like, well, maybe that's the wrong place to go and find a date in AA. Yeah. I mean, interesting people, of course. But, the quality of your relationship is the kind of person you're picking. And if you're picking people who've got a lot of issues, that's not their fault. But if you don't want to be a carer, you have to be more selective about the kind of person you want to spend your life with. What are the qualities? Like people who say, I went abroad, I met this guy. I know someone at the moment who married someone in another country, another culture, had a child. It's all gone horribly wrong because he wants her now to be submissive and at home, and the child's got, and she doesn't come from that culture. So the belief that love will fix everything doesn't always work.
So there's that rejection that maybe you date someone for a couple weeks, a couple months, a couple years. That hurts. But then there's that soul-crushing heartbreak. Or maybe you date maybe you get a divorce. Maybe you're with someone for like 7-10 years. What's the roadmap for healing from those crushing heartbreaks when you're just absolutely devastated?
Yeah. Well, first of all, take out the word crushing. The way you describe yourself is the way you act. Your words shape your reality. I'm devastated. My heart is broken. This person's ripped out my heart and trampled all over it. Really? No, you've just grown out of love with each other. That can happen for all kinds of reasons. I don't use the words crushing, broken-hearted, never get over it. I'm in bits, my heart. And just tell yourself the truth. It was great. They loved me. What they saw in me is still in me. Everything that person loved me is still there. It ended for all kinds of reasons. Not all your fault, of course. But if one person can love you, so can someone else. And the best thing to do is to call that your starter relationship. This was a starter marriage. This was the starter relationship. It was like having a starter home. My starter home was one room. I loved it. 5 years later, I thought, I can't live here anymore. I'm sick of living in one room. I need a separate bedroom, a separate living room. I need a bigger place. So although I loved that starter home, which I think you call it a studio or an efficiency, then I grew out of it. It was like saying, I've got this great job, but now, when I work with prisoners and I say, I just want to get out and have a little room. And then they say, well, I need an apartment. Now I need a house. Now I need a better job. Because your potential expands as you move towards it. And a starter relationship means it was all great, but my potential expanded. And I thought, gosh, I want more. I need more. I deserve more. And sometimes we have to let people go so we can find the person that's better. And every relationship you have will teach you something. If you're smart, you can take into the next relationship. Oh, I met someone who was very unreliable, and I realized I didn't want that. I met someone who was wild and crazy and an alcoholic, and I realized I thought that was fun. But then I realized actually it's not fun. And maybe you're looking for a commitment and children. So just be aware of the people you're picking, and don't call it crushing. Just call it, that was the starter relationship. I learned a lot. And if someone's loved you once, then someone else will love you again, probably even more because you're lovable.
There's this popular narrative, especially on social media, that you can't be needy. And they kind of imply that being needy is like the worst thing you could possibly be while dating or in a relationship. What's your take on this? And do you think that being needy is a bad thing?
Do you know, one of the interesting things is that one of the basis of all friendship is we pick people who share their vulnerability. But there's another truth that says confidence is very sexy. I think when you're dating in the beginning, when you go, are you going to call me? Please don't dump me. Don't ghost me. I was ghosted last time. It nearly killed me. Please say you'll call. And that's really off-putting. You need to come across as, I'm here, I'm great. If you want to see me again, well, why wouldn't you? And that's lovely, but I'm not going to be waiting around. But when you've met someone for a little while, then you can be very vulnerable and you can say, I remember my husband telling me that he loved me. And he felt very vulnerable, but I thought that was a wonderful thing. So in the beginning, when you're just meeting, you don't want to seem like, oh, when can I see you? Because you're saying, my life is empty without you. You want to say, by your mannerisms, I'm a great person with a great life, and you're very lucky that I'm letting you in. I got a great life, and if you want to be part of it, that's a wonderful thing. But as the relationship, of course you can be sick and you can be ill, and people often say, I loved my partner more when they were ill. I fell in love, my daughter's just had a baby with her husband, and she said, they just fell in love with each other all over again because she was very vulnerable giving birth. But he found that so wonderful, and now they're having an amazing time together, and I wouldn't have thought they could love each other more. But sometimes things happen, like an illness, having a child, something going on, a redundancy. And you can't always be that strong, confident person. So be there in the beginning. Don't think, well, I'm lying to hook someone, and just show them your best side. And then, of course, when you're in love, you're going to be vulnerable. Things happen. People get sick. They have accidents. I got run over a year and a half ago. I couldn't even walk, and my husband had to do everything. Had to push me around in a wheelchair, had to help me get out of bed, had to dress me, and I was very vulnerable and very glad I had him. But he didn't love me less. I think I loved him more because he did such a good job of looking after me. I was thinking, oh my God, if it, the other way around, I had to do this for him. I find it much harder because I couldn't carry him up and down the stairs. I couldn't push his wheelchair through London in the middle of winter when it was freezing cold. But when you're together, vulnerability makes intimacy better. It's the basis of friendships. I can show you I'm vulnerable, and you can show me you're vulnerable. Because the truth is, I'm a flawed person. You're a flawed person. We're all flawed people. And the very best we can have is a flawed relationship. It's called being flawsome. And I can tell you without skipping a beat that the clients I work with, the unhappiest, are the ones who pretend to be perfect. They are the unhappiest, but they're also the loneliest, because we don't want someone perfect. If I'm with someone perfect, then I feel a bit flawed. But if I'm with someone flawed like me, we can have a wonderful flawed relationship together and just laugh and say, oh, well, my husband says, I'm sorry, my husband has some flaws, and I can laugh about them mostly because I've got some too.
So how do we know when we found the right person? People might call this the one. How do we know when we found the one, or should we even have that mindset of finding the one?
I think people who find the one and then the one dies or something happens will find another one who's the one. So I think you can have more than one. One, like people will say, my first wife, one of my great friends, her husband owned a football club and he died and she married someone else, and her wedding, what I love about him, he lets me talk about my first husband and he isn't jealous. He understands, and I love him even more for that. So now she's had two the ones because she's wildly in love with her second husband. So you can have more than one person who is the one. So it's okay to stay the one. And how do you know? I think you know because of how you feel. You wake up and you think about that person. You realize how nice it is to wake up to and come home to someone and not have to do anything, just sitting in the same room having a glass of wine together. There's no effort to pretend. Nothing has to be waxed off or injected in. You can just be yourself. And you tend to know because of how it feels, and you both feel the same. It's very hard if you think, I'm their one, but they're not my one, or vice versa. But it's just a knowing. You meet someone and you know very quickly that you want to spend your life with them. They don't annoy you very much in the beginning anyway. You're able to find their little faults almost endearing. And it's a knowing. You just know, and you don't always, some people say I knew like that, and other people say I didn't really know. When I met my husband, he said he knew immediately that I was the one. I didn't know. I really wasn't convinced at all. He tried to convince me. But then over time, I began to realize too that he was the one. So it isn't always instant, eyes meeting across a room. And often people will say, no, I didn't even know that person until, something happened. I got sick. I got made bankrupt. I got fired. And there they were doing everything for me, because a great relationship requires best friend chemistry and sexual chemistry. And a lot of us get very into the sexual chemistry. It's amazing. It blinds us to someone's faults. And sexual chemistry can be fantastic. But you must have best friend chemistry as well. And many people say the sex is wild and it's amazing. I don't even actually really like this person, but the sex is so good, I don't even care. And people say, well, we're best friends, but the sex isn't great. But, we're just like, we get on so well. But you must have both. So when you know it's the one is when you've got three things. You have best friend chemistry. It doesn't mean you go to the nail bar with them or every match or every game. It means that if you were on a desert island, you would take them. Sexual chemistry, of course, you must have that. And then thirdly, you must have this mutual respect, where you don't roll your eyes when they tell a joke or badmouth them to your friends. So if you have all those three things, best friend chemistry, sexual, mutual respect and admiration, that's how you know it's the one.
So finding the right person, I feel like in dating is half the battle, and then the other half is maintaining a healthy relationship. Yeah. What are some keys that you find are important to maintaining a healthy relationship long term?
But the biggest is to know you're worth it. You know, I remember working with someone years ago, and she said her first husband had been married for 3 years, and she kept saying, you know, I'll know in 3 years, I'll know in 3 years if it's working. And she was like waiting, and then 3 years came, and actually I was so surprised they broke up, but maybe I wasn't, because she never said, well, you know, this is different. How could he ever want to leave me? We have an amazing relationship. So to make it work, to make it last, you have to believe you're worthy of love. You have to say it, state it. I mean, you have to say things to your partner like, you're so lucky to have me, and I'm so lucky to have you. Aren't we lucky we found each other? You're lucky to have someone like me who loves you. And don't do that stuff about looking in someone's phone and saying, you know, do you love me? Are you sure? You know, prove it to me, show me, tell me. Because that's not someone else's job, it's your job. So attracting a relationship is one thing, but making it last is quite another. And people say, you know, oh, it's such hard work. And I never found that to be true. I found being single hard work. And I had the flu. I got to get out of bed and get my own prescription from the pharmacy. I got to make my own soup. But when you're with a person, they do everything for you, it's not hard work. People say, you know, it's such hard work being married. I think that's absolutely untrue. And we shouldn't believe that. You may go through a hard patch. But as long as you can keep saying, you know, I deserve this and I'm worthy of it, and don't have that, you know, something's got to give. If you have a great relationship, then you can't have a great career, or vice versa. Just believe that, you know, being in love is the most wonderful thing in the world. And there are lots of people who've been married for 35 years, 40 years, and are blissfully happy. And people are very happy leave clues. And one of the clues they leave is that they have that best friend and sexual chemistry. They respect the other person. They tend to put them first. And for everyone you'll see that's got a divorce and it's all gone wrong, the other people have been together forever and are really, really happy. So to make it work, you must respect the other person all the time. And don't do that, I'm going to give 50%. You've got to give 100%. Give what you most want to get back. You know, my husband. So for me, birthdays are very important. For my husband, he couldn't care less. He doesn't really want anything, a book. But we're very different. So I always say to him, you know, for me, birthdays are a big deal. I want to wake up to cards. I want to go out. In fact, I like to go away for the whole weekend and make it really special. And so I've told him what I want. But I don't think, well, I should take you away and make it special, because he doesn't want that. So part of a relationship, making it work, is you've got to be really aware of your needs. What do you need? You've got to say, I need, for instance, always when you call me if you're going to be late, I need you. Like I said to my husband one day, you know, when you go to bed at night before me, I like you to lock all the doors. I like to feel safe. I didn't say to him, oh, you know, you're so selfish, you just go to bed, you don't care about me, you don't even check the door's locked. I said to him, when you go to bed and don't check, I don't feel protected. So I appealed to his masculine nature, and now he always checks all the doors. So you have to say, look, I have a need. I have a need for you to not put dishes in the sink full of food. That drives me crazy. Or I have a need for you not to put wet towels on the floor. But you have to understand that you've got to put your needs into 3 baskets. These needs are non-negotiable. I need you to not get drunk when you're driving. I need you to tell me where you are. But my need to have a tidy house, maybe I could pick up the towels. Is it really worth fighting about them? Should I just do that myself? And then the third set of needs, maybe you have to give them up. I mean, my need to have a tidy house, I've just given up with that because I have a very untidy husband, but he makes me happy. So work out your needs. These are non-negotiable. This need I could meet myself, and this need I can just give up. Because when you meet someone else's needs, they'll never leave you. But you may want to leave them if they don't also meet your needs. You've got to talk about your needs. This is a need. My need is different to your need, but let's work our needs out. You know, my husband, if I had a need to watch reality TV, that would just drive him crazy because he hates that. I only watch it when he's gone to bed or out of town, because I wouldn't say to him, you've got to watch this with me. And he likes to watch really deep stuff on TV, so he watches that separately. But we also find a lot of stuff to watch together. A relationship is about a lot of compromise, but do it because you love someone. You know, people say, oh, I don't want to have sex, so why should we have sex? Well, you wouldn't say to your husband, hey, I don't want to eat, so you can't eat. I'm not tired, so you can't go to bed. I'm not cold, so you can't put the air conditioning on. We would never say that. Part of love is going, you know, I go and watch my partner playing football in the rain. I want to support him. And he comes shopping with me and gets bored out of his brains, but he wants to support me. So don't give 50%, give 100%. Give and meet someone's needs, but also make sure that they can meet yours. And then you have a great relationship where you understand each other and do for each other, not all the time. You know, my husband has this thing, he doesn't put the lids on. I go to pick something up, it falls on the floor and smashes. And I learnt very quickly, you know, shall I shout? Why don't I just screw it on? I know now that's his behaviour. So rather than going, oh my God, the peanut butter's all over the floor now. You know, even with milk, he doesn't put the lid on. One day I picked up the cup, it went all over me. But I just learnt very quickly, well, why don't I just screw it on before I lift it out? That takes 30 seconds. But fighting about it can take the whole day. And again, that doesn't mean that he's right, but it also means that he's got so many good qualities, I have to forgo his negative ones. And he does the same for me.
Why is it that we struggle to express our needs? Is it because of fear of rejection?
Oh, yeah. You know, again, 1,000 years ago, rejection would have killed. If you ever watched Game of Thrones, you saw very quickly that safety was a numbers game. If you belonged to a big tribe, you'd be safe. If you were cast out from the White Wall, whatever it was, the walled city, you would die. So in our primitive selves, we have a knowing rejection. I mean, here's all the songs. I'll die if you leave me. I can't live without you. Unbreak my heart. I'll never love again. And they all say the same thing. You're a fragile person that can be ruined by rejection. It isn't true. Rejection can be something that makes you stronger and tougher and gives you an I'll show you. But it's our primitive nature that, because rejection used to kill us, being banished or cast out or marooned or isolated, all the things they used to do. They used to banish you from the tribe, maroon you on an island, put you into solitary confinement. And for many people, that was worse than death. So it left us with this belief that rejection can kill me. The truth is, you could live in an apartment with 10 cats, have everything delivered by Amazon, never see anyone ever, and live until you're 105. So just keep telling yourself, rejection does not kill me. In fact, it can make you stronger. If you survive rejection, which you think, oh, well, you know, I had a broken heart, thought it was the end of the world, but, you know, I got over it. I found someone better. That person did me a favor. And then it's okay. And then you can move on.
So a lot of people in my generation, Gen Z, are struggling right now with relationships. Why do you think this is? What do you think is going on?
I think porn is a real problem, because I think when you watch too much porn, you don't see love. You just see sex, and you see sex often without foreplay. It's just very much penetrative sex. And people think, oh, that's what everybody likes, just having crazy penetration with someone who's screaming their head off. And it kind of blunts your ability to see what connection is. I think, secondly, social media can be great at helping you meet someone, but the problem is, you know, when my first boyfriend dumped me, I was brokenhearted, but I couldn't find him. I didn't know what he was doing. Nowadays, I could go on social media and think, oh my God, look at him with all those hot girls, and he's having fun. And I think that's the problem, that we always know where someone is and what they're doing, and that can be hard. And we get overexposed every day to fake images of perfection. We think everyone's having a better life. Everyone's having a wild, crazy sex life and is madly in love. And they look fantastic every minute of the day. And here are we, and we don't match up. So I think comparison is the thief of joy. We know that. And I think for all the good of social media, I mean, you have sites where you can ask people to grade you. Hey, can you grade me? Yeah, you're a 2. So the comparison can be very, very harmful. And all these sites make us believe that everyone else is having a wonderful time. And then people have got 5,000 friends or 100,000 followers, but there isn't anyone who should turn up when you're sick with a cake. They have lots of friends, but people don't even pick up the phone anymore. They just speak on text. And people are so connected to their phones that we're creating a world of disconnection. You know, the biggest employee in the world is a driver. And in 10 years, they won't even have a job because we're being replaced by computers and machines. And I think we've lost that art of deep connection, you know, putting the phone down. You know, when you wake up in the morning, the first thing you reach for is your phone. Even I do that. But we have to really go back to what matters. Most people at the end of their life will tell you the thing that gave them joy was their relationship with other people. So find someone, practice connection, realize that you cannot be rejected. The only person who can reject you is you. Really work on your self-esteem. Just say every day, I'm lovable, I'm deserving of love. If you want love, there's only one thing you have to do, and it's this. You got to say, I am lovable, I'm worthy of love, I'm deserving of love. Say it, state it. The mind has no ability to reject. Whatever you tell it, it will let in, whether it's good or bad, or harmful or helpful. And if you say that, you'll start to render. Quantum physics says we're all frequency. Quantum physics is a better science than medical science. It says we're frequency, we're vibration. And I can raise my vibration, and that can affect you. So if you get to that vibration of, I am so worthy of love, you'll find people that match that vibration. But if you have the vibration of, well, you know, I look good, but actually I'm really boring or needy or insecure, and if you get to know me, you might dump me, then that's a different vibration. Choose to vibrate at a different frequency. It isn't woo-woo. Just keep saying, I'm worthy of love, worthy of love, worthy of love, worthy of love. You know, many years ago, I met this girl who said, you know, before I go on a date, I always give myself an orgasm because I know I give this air of being so desirable. Plus, I don't really have any need to sleep with them because I've already had an orgasm beforehand. And she said, that men just find me so desirable. And I thought that was actually very clever. She said, oh, well, that's a thing, you know, it's a cultural thing. I think it was a South American thing, but she was saying, you know, that's what I do. And I loved that because what she was doing in having an orgasm before she went out on a date was getting herself into that vibe of being so attractive, so sexy, so aroused, but also like, well, I don't need you, you know, we're having a nice time, but I'm going home now without you. So she was also being the opposite of needy. She was being quite self-sufficient. I don't think she even realized what she was doing. She just said, no, you know, someone told me that if you can do that, when you're on a date, guys think you're really hot. But actually she's doing a lot of things that all worked. Because what she was saying is, I'm desirable and gorgeous, but I don't need you. And then later I might be desirable and gorgeous and need you because now we've got to know each other and we're dating. So don't give the job of being desirable and gorgeous to anyone else. It's your job to tell yourself you're lovable. And if you're waiting for some person to turn up and go, oh, you're the one, you're amazing, you're so hot, you're so beautiful, don't give that job. Do it yourself, whether you're a boy or a girl, a man or a woman, straight or not. Keep telling yourself, I'm the one, I'm amazing, I'm lovable, who couldn't love me? And you'll change that frequency. That quantum physics will start to work in that your energy level will change so much and people will pick up what you believe about you. Which is great. Sadly, they'll also pick up, oh, I'm not really worth it. So people say, you know, I hope I meet someone I hope I'm good enough for them. No. Hope they're good enough for you. Just little switches. Don't go and think, oh, I hope I'm good enough. I hope they like me. I hope it works. Go, hey, I hope I like them. I hope they see how amazing I am. I hope they pick up how lucky they are to be with me. But don't fake it. Really believe it. So the things that make us attract love are very simple. Know that you're worthy of and deserving of it. Not only will you find love, it will find you. But lastly, what does it mean? I'm looking for love. Where you go? I go to a club. You know, I go to a party. But everyone is there looking for the same thing. So you should be a little bit more discerning. If you're a girl and you want to find a guy, you should be going to poker and IT classes, a place where there's lots of men. And if you're a man, you should get out of the way and go to yoga classes where there's lots of women and hardly any men. Because if you believe you're lovable, then put yourself around the kind of person you want to spend your life with. You'll probably go home with them. So believe you're lovable. Decide what kind of person you want to see. And they're not always in a bar, but they might be at some great class. They might be at friends. But I had a friend who, her marriage ended, she was desperately unhappy. And just to cheer herself up, she went to work at an animal sanctuary 3 nights a week, feeding baby robins and hedgehogs, and she totally loved it. And she met a guy doing the same thing, and they're now so happily married. So she didn't say, gosh, I'm broken hearted, let me go to a club, let me go to a singles bar. She found an interest, like Friends of the Earth or something like that. That's why we meet people so often in gyms. But she wasn't looking, but she was doing something that made her heart sing, and she found someone that definitely makes her heart sing. So believe you're lovable. Think of the kind of person you want, what qualities they're, where are they? And then go to where they may be, believing you're worthy of being with them.
I feel like a lot of people struggle with self-confidence. Are there ways that we can, maybe things we can tell ourselves, or maybe stuff we can do with our body language? Are there any tips to improve our confidence?
Yeah, confidence, there's 2 things. I'm confident in what I do, and I'm confident in who I am. And I meet many actors, I can go on to set and act this part, but I couldn't even walk into a pub by myself because I'm very confident in what I can do, but not who I am. So again, it's your job to make yourself confident. So I'm a good person. I'm kind, I'm smart, I'm funny, I'm brilliant at IT, I'm an amazing chef, I'm a wonderful friend. Again, think if someone could tell you in your life that you were confident, whether that be a teacher or a partner or a sibling or an employer, don't give them that job, do it yourself. Once you can raise your self-worth, your self-value, your self-image and your sense of self, and once they go up like this, the world will join you there. And so you have to start it, because the way you feel about everything, including your confidence levels, comes down to just 2 things: the pictures you make in your head and the words you construct. Well, that's great news, because if the way you feel comes down to just those 2 things, the pictures you make, the words you form, then if you change the pictures and words, you can do anything. So instead of saying, I'm nervous, I'm excited, I'm going on a date, I'm excited, I'm going to show someone tonight how amazing I am. Start to change your language. Your words shape your reality. When you change something as simple as your words, you actually change your reality, because it's a bit like a ladder. Your thoughts affect your feelings, and your feelings affect your behavior. And we're so busy trying to change our behavior, but you've got to change your thoughts. Change your thoughts, change your words, change your language. That changes your feelings, and it changes your actions and your behavior. So just spend a bit of time saying, I'm lovable, I'm having the time of my life, I'm ready to meet someone who can see I'm lovable too. And if you can really wire and fire and code that in, but also put yourself around it. Because a lot of people say, I'm just at home. Well, unless you want to be in love with the person doing your deliveries, you also got to get out there. Go out and be your best self. And be honest. And say to someone, not so much that I'm desperate, I'm ready to share my life. I want to have children. I'm planning to live this great life. Don't say it with an embarrassment. Just say, yeah, I'm ready to be with someone amazing, because I'm amazing.
What do you think is the biggest misconception that young people have about being an adult?
I think we think it's all going to be perfect. And that, a lot of people have read The Secret and they think, I'm just going to meditate and everything's going to fall into my lap. So I think we believe that being an adult, everything works. We get a job, we have enough money to pay the bills, we fall in love, maybe we have children, and it's all wonderful. Well, it is wonderful, actually. It's amazing. But it does require a bit of work, a bit of compromise, and people who can't compromise find sharing very hard. And people who can find it a delight.
What do you think is the measurement of a good life? How do we know when we can determine, like, okay, this is a good life? What's a good measurement for that?
I think being happy. Happiness is not a destination. It's the journey you're on. Can you say, I'm happy right now? I'm happy right now. I've woken up and I'm happy because I love my sheets. I'm going to have a cup of coffee, which I love. The birds are singing, I can hear children playing. So I think having an aptitude, what I call an aptitude for gratitude, being grateful for where you are, for being really excited about the present and the future, that's how you feel happy. It is a choice. A lot of people say, I'll be happy when my kid is out of diapers, when my kid's gone to school, when my kid can feed themselves, when I've got a promotion, when it's summer, when I've lost 10 pounds. But the truth is, you've got to be happy right now, just with your body, just the way you were with the rain. The other year I was staying with some friends in England. It rained every single day. I mean, I was actually, my husband and I both went to have a nap because we had jet lag, and I was lying in bed. It was pouring with rain, but the window was open. I was reading the paper. He was asleep. My friend was cooking. And I thought, wow, I'm so happy. I'm just really happy. Here am I. Got nothing to do. My husband's sleeping. I'm reading, which I love. I'm with friends, which I love. And sometimes the happiest moments just come upon you, but you've got to learn to savor them and look at what made me so happy. And then another time I was driving home, and we just stopped and went to the movies in Notting Hill to see this film I'd always wanted to see. I remember thinking, I'm in heaven. This is like, I love this cinema. It's this old cinema in Notting Hill where they filmed Notting Hill, the movie. I love this movie. My husband doesn't even like this, but he's come with me. And I was, when you're happy, just stop and think, what is it? Is it waking up with your cat? Is it waking up with your dog? Is it waking up with your children? Is it eating some delicious food? And be happy in the moment. It is a choice to go, I'm happy, I'm so happy. And the more you can make little things make you happy, like your first coffee, savor it. This coffee is sensational. This avocado on toast is amazing. When you can savor little things, then big things make every day feel like Christmas. So don't look for happiness. There's no terminal called happiness. It's the place you are right now.
So my last question is, if you had a minute with your younger self, what would you tell her?
I would say everything's going to be just great. I was so insecure, my younger self. Really insecure. And I would have said, no, your life's going to be amazing. Don't worry, we do something called WPO, the worst possible. And that's going to go wrong. That's not going to work out. When I was 17, I thought I'd become a school teacher, get married, have 3 kids, and live a suburban life. And that sounded lovely to me. And my life has turned out nothing like that. Or you have no idea where you're going, because as you reach your potential, it expands. But once your mind moves to a new dimension, it never goes back. So when you move to that dimension of being loved and being happy and being content, it doesn't really go back. So I would say to my younger self, stop worrying, stop fretting and stressing. Your life's going to be amazing, and you can edit it and rewrite it. We always get the chance to edit our life, rewrite something. They didn't dump me. They just weren't ready for what I wanted. They didn't reject me. We were in a different place. And the biggest thing I would tell myself is, you're enough. Nobody can reject you. Don't let that in. And I wish I had told myself that. It would have made my early 20s much happier than they were.